The Premier League is back, and Manchester United is still absolutely diabolical. I heard all this talk about their new signings, just for them to be the exact same atrocious team that they were last season. And once again, Arsenal picked up an easy win against Man United thanks to this bozo in goal.
Hello, bozo.
Hatewatching is back for the new season, and yes, I'm in a shed, and no, don't ask questions. Because once again, Arsenal are beating Manchester United. Pretty much every time we play these guys, it's a guaranteed 3 points. Despite the fact Martin Odegaard somehow managed to mess up every single final ball without fail. And the fact that Gabriel Martinelli is one of the biggest bozos I've ever had the displeasure of laying my eyes upon. I mean, how the flip can you have a counter-attack chance like this, and the ball ends up over there? And then he completely missed the ball trying to bicycle kick. It's just embarrassing, really. I beg we sign a proper left winger before this window ends, because I can't deal with another season of this buffoon. Victor Gyökeres also made his debut in this game, and him and Kai Havertz seem to be two cheeks of the same ass. Cause what kind of cross is this? And then I watched him just leave the ball behind. Does he have CTE or something? He still absolutely bodied De Ligt though, which was nice to see. As for Manchester United, this rat Bruno Fernandes was complete whack. Everything this guy attempted did not come off whatsoever. He was genuinely worse than Odegaard in this game. And even worse than him was this week's Bozo of the Week, Altay Bayındır. Because what kind of discombobulation does it require to be this flippin' stupid? How as a goalkeeper are you that weak to let the ball just go past you like that? And then end up at the back post for Calafiori to head in the only goal of the game. I thought Onana was bad, but damn, this guy's a complete and total bum. I've seen so many people gas up this Manchester United team as if they were incredible and unlucky to lose. But I'm sorry, they created absolutely nothing whatsoever. Every single chance they had was some speculative effort, which had no chance of going in. There was never a moment in this game where I genuinely felt like we were going to concede. Until I saw Manuel Ugarte lining up a shot from distance in the dying minutes. This was the opportunity for Manchester United to salvage a point and for Ugarte to set up his name in lights. Just for him to produce the worst shot I've ever flippin' seen. But yeah, Arsenal defended incredibly well in this game. In particular, this spectacular challenge by Saliba and Cunha in the box. As you can see, he wins the ball with such perfect precision, and United fans can say all they like, but their manager has only won 7 games out of 28 in the Premier League. He's lost 15 of those as well. He's genuinely just a terrible manager. I don't get how anyone's any confidence in him. People are getting way too carried away with a loss, because this is going to be another long season for Manchester United. And after just 1 game, they're already back where they belong, down in 15th.
I know nothing about football, but I know Manchester United is shit.
The first game of the new Premier League season was the champions Liverpool at home to Bournemouth. And this game was full of controversy, as it took just 12 minutes for VAR to make its first big error of the season, as this Bournemouth bozo decided to swap the ball with his hand, but somehow avoided getting a red card, before the spasmoid on wheels started to racially abuse Antoine Semenyo. And I can't lie, this guy's clearly in the wrong place, because he belongs in a Rocket League server, not a Premier League football game. They should have just wheeled him backwards down the hill, and he wouldn't have been able to do anything about it. The ball then bounced for Ekitike to find himself through own goal, as this Bournemouth player decided to literally just stand still before the goalkeeper dived completely out the way of the ball. I'm sorry, but what kind of match-fixing nonsense is this? They weren't even trying to stop the goal. And then in the second half, the same player gave up, as Gakpo sent about 4 Bournemouth players for smacking in a second for the champions. But this was far from the perfect game for Liverpool. They were so open all game, in particular down the left-hand side, as Kirkers had an atrocious debut against his former club. Tackles like this are just ridiculous. He lost his whole mind this game. Eventually, Bournemouth made it 2-1, with Semenyo punishing Liverpool by finishing off a counter-attack. And then he was allowed to run all the way from his own half and slapping an equaliser with 15 minutes to go, and Konate ending up on the floor like a bozo. And that wasn't his first bozo moment in this game either. So Liverpool had been pegged back to 2-2 and were in need of someone to step up and save them. But luckily they had a 120 million record signing in their squad, who had one of the worst debuts I've ever witnessed in my damn life. Because Florian Wirtz was simply tragic in this game. This was an intolerable, nefarious excuse of a performance. It was like he wasn't even trying. If this guy cost 120 million, I reckon I could go for 150, because I could do better than this. Rightly so, he was subbed off and replaced by a man who failed to score a single goal in his first Premier League season, as Liverpool were in desperate need of a late winner. But then, a miracle occurred as Chiesa actually scored a goal and put Liverpool back into the lead in the 88th minute. As soon as Wirtz came off, Liverpool actually did something. It's a new season, but the same old Mo Salah, as he did absolutely nothing all game, but still grabbed a goal. Once again in the opening game, as he always does. And once again, the Bournemouth players completely gave up to let Liverpool score. It's honestly just embarrassing at this point. Hey yo, you absolute bozo! Why haven't you liked the video yet? Make sure to absolutely bukkake that like button and subscribe whilst you're at it. Thank you. Tottenham are 2-0 up in the Super Cup in the 85th minute, but somehow managed to bottle the game in true Tottenham fashion. However, their first Premier League game was against Burnley, and there was no way they could mess this one up, as early on Kudus crossed it in for Richarlison to put them into the lead. And then in the second half, Richarlison ran it back to the 2022 World Cup, pulling off a spectacular bicycle kick to make it 2-0 to Tottenham. But I'm not going to gas it up too much, because it is Richarlison and it is Tottenham. But they eventually made it 3-0 through Brennan Johnson, and only Tottenham's third home win in the entirety of 2025. And Burnley are flipping tragic. Those guys are finishing bottom 100%, no questions asked. They're terrible. Aston Villa and Newcastle played one of the most boring games in Premier League history, with the only interesting thing being Ezri Konsa getting himself sent off for this foul on Anthony Gordon, and then Harvey Barnes putting up one of the worst shots I've ever seen in my damn life. These guys really miss Alexander Isak. Sunderland's first game back in the Premier League was against West Ham, which is possibly the best first game you could ever hope for, because West Ham are absolutely diabolical. My end headed Sunderland ahead in the second half, which was one of the slowest headers I've ever seen, but still somehow went in. And then Adingra whipped in a beautiful ball for Ballard to head in a second, before Wilson Isidore came forward on the counter to wrap up a 3-0 win. And honestly, West Ham losing 3-0 to a team that had been outside the Premier League for 8 straight seasons is beyond embarrassing. These bozos needed a striker and signed Callum Wilson, someone who started just 2 games in the league last season because he's the most injury-prone player in the history of the whole flipping sport. And their other striker, Nicholas Füllkrug, lost 16 flipping duels in 1 game. Genuinely, these guys might be in a lot of trouble this year. It's not looking good for them. Brighton won a second half penalty at home to Fulham, which Matt O'Reilly calmly slotted home to make it 1-0. However, in the final seconds, the ball fell at the feet of Rodrigo Muniz to level the scores and break Brighton hearts. But questions have got to be asked of James Milner, because how is this bozo letting Muniz get free at the back post? The most outrageous thing from this game, however, has to be Calvin Bassey's shorts, because why is this Wallad sagging so much? This guy better hope he doesn't come up against Mascara from Wolves this season, or we'll start seeing #MeToo in his upcoming Snapchat stories. Man City's first game was away at Wolves, who are absolutely atrocious. Rangers was in form in this game, creating the opening goal with some nice play before Rico Lewis knocked it across for Haaland to tap in City's first goal of the season. Then this absolute bum at the back passed it straight to Oscar Bob, who set up Rangers to score in his Premier League debut. And then he grabbed an assist on his debut as well, as Haaland smacked in this chance to make it 3-0. Before later on, Cherki, also on his debut, sorted one home from range to still an impressive 4-0 opening day win for Manchester City. However, as impressive as it is, Wolves are a bunch of incompetent bozos. So let's not get carried away with Man City just yet. Against Chelsea, Eze whacked in a free kick early on to put Palace in the lead, but somehow this was ruled out. Apparently Guehi isn't allowed to move out the way of the ball, meaning that for the second season in a row, Eze's had a free kick goal rolling ruled out in the first game of the season. But he is apparently trying to join Tottenham, so maybe he deserves it to be ruled out. It was a trash free kick anyway, how isn't this bozo in goal saving it? And speaking of bozos, Chelsea continues to be a preposterous bunch of clowns in front of goal. This Esteval guy they got from Brazil looks like he can't even control his limbs, let alone the football. And what kind of egregious shot is this? Meaning that rightly so, Chelsea dropped points in the opening game. Cause I don't like Chelsea, so hopefully they keep dropping points. It took Chris Wood just 6 minutes to get on the score sheet for the first time this season, putting Brentford to the sword from a corner. And Brentford have apparently come back this season as a bunch of deplorable bozos, because this miss is inexplicable. Before a couple minutes later, Gibbs White spun his man and crossed it in for Dan Ndoye to score in his debut. And then Brentford gave the ball away again as Chris Wood went round the keeper to slot in his second. And honestly, these guys are missing Wisson and Burmo so much, because they're terrible now. Something's got to be done about these players going on strike, by the way, because how are both Wissa and Isak refusing to play for their clubs? Wissa even removed all the Brentford pictures from his Instagram and made his profile picture a black screen, as if he's going through a flipping breakup. What kind of diabolical behaviour is this? Brentford did eventually pull one back from the penalty spot, but they look horrific, man. It's going to be a very painful season for them if this continues. Leeds absolutely dominated Everton in the first half of their first game back in the Premier League, but were unable to capitalise as they went into half-time at 0-0. But then later on, they won this absolute travesty of a penalty. It was one of the most scandalous decisions I've seen, because how can you give a penalty when Tarkowski's arm is by his side? And let's just remind ourselves that this was a handball, but this wasn't. Anyway, the penalty was given, and the Metro slotted at home to give Leeds their first win back in the big time. Now it's time for the top 5 goals of the week. This is a segment where we look at the best goals from all across the world of football in the past week. And starting in at number 5, we have Gustavo Harm in the Carabao Cup against Birmingham, perfectly slapping it in from the halfway line, giving the goalkeeper no chance. This strike was absolutely delectable and deservedly makes it into the top 5. At number 4, we've got Chandre Campbell's 92nd minute winner for Club Brugge, cutting inside before smacking it past the keeper. And oh my days, we have to talk about the curve on that strike, because the way it bends in then swivels out to the far corner is just marvellous. That's what you call a knuckleball. And to win the game as well, that's a goal worthy of the celebration, man. Wow. In at number 3 is Gustavo Scarpa's banger against Gremio. After the pass from Hulk, he just smashed into the top corner. And bro, you just can't get more top bins than that. In fact, my mouth is just salivating watching it. In second place, you have Richarlison's bicycle kick against Burnley. As much as I dislike Tottenham, this was a very good goal and deserves its place in this list. But we're also going to move on from it very swiftly. And finally, in first place for this week, we of course have Ricardo Calafiori's scream against Manchester United at Old Trafford. Wow, the absolute precision on that header to get it over the line is just mind-blowing. I am joking, of course, because the real winner of Goal of the Week this week is this unbelievable volley by Kieran Bowie against Partizan. The sheer audacity to even attempt this is outrageous by itself, but the fact he actually pulled it off and got it past the goalkeeper is simply ridiculous. Honestly, I'll be shocked if we see a better goal than that all season. It's genuinely just tantalising. And now finally, we've got to talk about FPL. If you haven't already joined my league, what are you doing? It's not too late to join, so I'll put the code on the screen for you here. But this week's number 1 is actually Lewis. Yes, of course I'm winning, because my ball knowledge is just immaculate. Oh wait. That's a different Lewis. Well, shout out to Coldplay FC for being top after game week 1. This is his team, he's got the likes of Haaland and Rangers balling out for him. And of course some Arsenal players coming in clutch in defence. Meanwhile, I'm 345th in my own flipping league, because a bunch of my players flopped. Bruno, Cole Palmer, João Pedro and Gyökeres better start turning up, or I'm going to be turning up at their doorsteps, mate. I'm going to need a big week from all of them if I'm going to climb further up the table. But anyway, that's it for Hate Watching this week. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, make sure to like, share and subscribe. Come back again next week for the next episode of Hate Watching, and follow me on both TikTok and Instagram. In a bit, G.